How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast Beyond Action. If you're new here, then I don't know what you're doing. I've been releasing a lot of episodes, but hey, let me give you a bit of a summary of what I do here. I talk about the entertainment industry, so anything you can think of, movies, TV shows, gaming, anything that you think about, I will pretty much be covering on this podcast. Episodes come out every week, and I try to mainly keep it on like a broad enough topic where I can talk about a lot of different things, and you guys can leave comments down below on what you guys think about what goes on in these either directors' minds or what just happens in this industry as a whole. So enough about what this podcast is about. Let's get into this video. So you probably clicked on the video because it is either the next episode that you need to watch, or you thought that it was a very thought-provoking episode. And what is more thought-provoking than Christopher Nolan? Yes, Christopher Nolan is the director of many different movies, and a lot of movies that really do make you think a lot about how it ended or why the movie came out the way that it did, which is why I don't know what Christopher Nolan was smoking whenever he wrote these movies and made these movies. He also makes a lot of like really crazy stunts where he actually blows up like a hotel thing just to make The Dark Knight seem more realistic. It's a very interesting concept, and I love Christopher Nolan's style. So I don't drag all of you along for that long of an episode of just me coming up with the introduction. First of all, I'd like to talk about our favorite dark hero, The Dark Knight. Yes, Batman. He came out with Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. The perfect trilogy of a Batman movie. Obviously, we have Robert Pattinson's Batman, which I am looking forward to and seeing how that's going to pan out. But right now, I'm just going to be looking at Christian Bale and his performance in the Batman. The Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. I'm going to be looking at those movies. But especially the way that Christopher Nolan did it. Because you have a lot of different Batman and a lot of different ways that the story is being told. And just Christopher Nolan did it in a completely different way. Heath Ledger won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, which is completely weird because you never see an actor of a superhero movie win an Oscar because the Academy doesn't love the superhero movies because they're just such a canny genre, and usually you don't have that many serious movies. Well, you do have serious moments, but it's not all serious, and just the Academy doesn't really like them, so you don't really have that. But the fact that Heath Ledger won means that the script was amazing, which it was. So if you haven't seen The Dark Knight, then this is a really good Batman. This is the best Gotham for me. I think that the way that the story is told is amazing. You have Batman Begins with his origin story and fleshing out his parents and how that affected Bruce Wayne to be the person that he is. Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul, their reign over Gotham, where they're trying to affect the people with fear gas, and obviously at the end the train where everything, like the streets are full of fear, and Batman stops it. You have a very interesting look at Gotham, and you don't have a Batman that's very centered, I guess I'd say. You have a lot more of Bruce Wayne, you have a lot more of Gotham, you have a lot more of Jim Gordon, you have a lot more corruption. I think that is the perfect story that Christopher Nolan is saying, because it's just so versatile and it's so much left for us to like imagine about what this Batman did for the city. Then you have The Dark Knight, which obviously you have the Joker's legendary performance. You have the most amazing superhero movie, in my opinion. Obviously, I have it tied with Endgame. I just am very biased towards some of these movies. But if I'm talking about just directors, acting, and everything, all of the above, this is the most perfect superhero movie. And it was all done because of how Christopher Nolan wanted it to be made. He made the Joker a very threatening villain. He made us really think like, oh my God, like this is what Gotham is supposed to be. You have Harvey Dent, Gotham's star boy, being corrupted by the Joker. He's brought down to their level. And then you have just everything that goes on within the city because of the Joker. You have people turning on each other, but then people not turning on each other. You have these amazing scenes where Batman is seeing like in between the buildings, and so it's just a very interesting part. And again, you don't have a very centered around Batman story. You have a Gotham story where Batman and the Joker are characters inside of it, and it is an amazing way to storytell this. Obviously, we have different movies that show different parts of it, but this is just one that gives a perfect balance to everything, and I think that it wouldn't have been as good as it was had Christopher Nolan not directed it. And then we have The Dark Knight Rises. That was the perfect ending to this trilogy, but they had a lot of questions that were unsolved, and that's why Christopher Nolan does this. He is known for making the ending unknown so that us as the audience will like come up with our own conclusions and try to build off of that. And so I know that this movie's like pretty cut and dry, and so it doesn't really have too much, but the next few movies that I'm going to talk about do have me thinking, what the hell was Christopher Nolan smoking, and why does he have all of these crazy ideas? Inception is a movie that comes to mind when you think about mind-bending experiences. It is just such an amazing movie, but how does someone think about something like that? A dream inside of a dream inside of a dream to try to make something in reality turn different. It is so crazy. You see the opening scene of the movie where they're inside of this like Japanese temple thing, or like it's like a monastery, where you have an old man and Leonardo DiCaprio then threatening this old man. Then water comes in, and then you see that they woke up inside of some type of French raid or something like that, and then you just have everything that's going on around them. And so then they decide to wake up again into the real world. That makes you just question, like, what is the real world if you're going into so many dreams? You have the amazing cinematography that Christopher Nolan implemented in this movie, where you have the scene where the hallway is like turning, and you have like an actual turning set where they like just start fighting there, and like they keep on turning and they keep on punching each other, and it's just such amazing acting. It's such amazing directing, and the movie at the end, everything just comes together, and it makes you think like, wow, this guy, he knows that Inception works because he was the first person to do it. He did it to his wife, which ended up killing her because she didn't know what was real anymore. And so it just makes a lot of questions. As like the biggest question for me in this movie is, what the hell was that ending? You have Leonardo DiCaprio turning the top that doesn't exactly fall. We don't know if he's out of the dream or he's in the dream. And this is what I said by Christopher Nolan, leaving this all up to our speculation. Do we think that the top would have stayed standing? If it does, it means that he's still in the dream. If it falls, it means that he is out of the dream and that he is perfectly fine, and that like he can see his kids again, or that he's just dreaming that he's going to see his kids again. We don't really know what happened, and we don't really think. I personally think that he got out of the dream because he couldn't see his kids' faces, and then here he actually does remember his kids' faces. So I think that in a way he was out of the dream, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that he is still in the dream. And then we just have all these subtle things where you don't really know what's going on in the movie. I had to watch the movie like 2 or 3 times to fully grasp the concept. I didn't understand the beginning until I watched the end, but then I didn't I didn't understand the ending until I watched it again. Until like I went full circle and I completely understood what was going on in the movie. Then I was able to kind of make sense of what was going on at the end. And so I just think that it is a masterpiece, but it's extremely weird about how a director would even think of such an idea. It's just such a weird idea that you don't really think that anyone would be crazy enough to make that up in their mind. One of my favorite movies that I've watched recently is Interstellar. I watched it over the past few months, and it was such an amazing ride. The movie, just from start to finish, I was invested in this character that Matthew McConaughey was playing. It was just such a good movie. I am a huge space nerd. I love knowing everything that happens with space. So time dilation and time relativity is something that isn't exactly like a new concept to me. But I love the way that Christopher Nolan kind of like developed the idea, but the like just the idea that an hour here is 7 years on Earth, and so then you have this big ass planet with big ass waves that just end up killing people, and like that they were just there for like 30 minutes before anyone actually knew that they were like actually gonna be gone for the rest of like their lives. And you just have this amazing like plot that just sends everything. You have Matt Damon like betraying the group because he wants to go back home because they didn't find anything and they don't think that anything is going to be survivable. And so it's just these amazing visuals with an amazing story. But the part that I find like, what the hell was this character thinking? And what the hell was Christopher Nolan thinking was when when Matthew McConaughey decides to drop into the black hole to get into the fabric of space-time and get her daughter to like understand that there is a planet where it is livable. And so he goes into the black hole. If you know anything about space, then you know that that is a terrible idea because of the pressure will like make you basically into a pancake, and even flatter than a pancake. It will make you into a microscopic thing that will never get out of there. And so why am I expected to believe that Gargantua, a super massive black hole that I think is more than 100 million times the size of our sun, like the mass of our sun, how am I supposed to expect that you would be crazy enough to go into the horizon of that black hole, much like go into that black hole? Like, you know what's gonna happen to you. Yet he ends up getting into the fabric of space-time and starts like figuring out that that's like why there was knocking on his house, because he was the person that was knocking. And so he starts to like kind of go full circle, and he starts to get like the ideas that he had before, and he was making all of these things so that like his daughter could realize a way to communicate with him. And so that's what they did. They communicated like with each other by hitting the shelves, getting the Morse code. And so his daughter ends up being able to find him, and they get back home. And he obviously, time dilation, she's now old, about to die, and he is still in his like middle 30s to late like to early 40s. He is still relatively young, and she's old now, and you just have like this great ending where everything ended up working. They saved their planet, and now everything is just perfect as can be. But you have a guy that's out of time, kind of like Steve Rogers in like the Avengers. He's a soldier from World War II that ends up in present day. You have Matthew McConaughey that ends up 80 years later in the just like a different world. And like he's meeting his great grandkids that are his age. It's just something completely weird, and I do not imagine what I would do given being in that situation. It's a very weird situation because obviously you're like, hey, I'm your great grandpa, but I'm like almost the same age as you. And it's just a very weird thing because he is now the hero of these people, because he is the person that found out how to save the planet. All in all, like, I think that Christopher Nolan had a wonderful idea with this movie, and he explained it perfectly with the time dilation, with the space-time continuum theories. I just think that it was a lot, like, it was just really far-fetched when he went into the black hole, and then he was a like person inside of the wormhole that like gave his hand to Anne Hathaway's character. It was just a lot that was going on in this movie that like it makes sense at the end, but you know that it's far-fetched. You know that that's not really how it works. Don't try jumping into a black hole. I know that this might not make it to you in like a couple 100,000 years or so. I don't really know when we're going to be able to travel in space, but don't try to jump into a black hole unless you know it is 100% safe. It is not a good idea. The last movie I would like to bring up is one that I found really hard to get through because I wasn't really understanding it. It was the movie Tenet. if you haven't seen it, then it's probably because the COVID-19 pandemic was going on when this movie was released, and it really did affect like how it came out, when it came out, and like how many people watched it. So some people didn't watch it. I personally like tried to watch it, but I just couldn't grasp the concept of a like gun that makes everything go backwards. And so it's just a really weird concept to me. And that is where I say, what was Christopher Nolan smoking when he made this movie? You don't really know, where he just like came up with an idea to make this like character. He made this story. This guy, David Washington, he goes back and like he's like trying to prevent a future catastrophe by being able to reverse time with some specific bullets that he was given. Yeah, it was a really weird movie, and I don't understand how anyone comes up with that. Honestly, like if it's just an action movie and like he has like deja vu or something and he goes and saves the future, I understand that. You have Meet the Robinsons where the kid actually goes into the future and then he changes the past. Like you have that, but no, here he's like changing the future by going back into the past while he's in the present. It's a really weird concept, and I really don't understand it. So if any of you understand it, please type it down below in the comments, because I will never understand how this movie was as successful as it was. Like, because it's just the concept doesn't register for me. If it does for any of you guys, please like dumb it down for me a bit, because I would love to understand what this movie is really trying to get at. I thought it was a really great action movie. I had a lot of fun with it because I love action and I love seeing all like characters fly and like it's just like beating each other up and all that type of stuff. But what lost me was the whole traveling back in time thing. Like you see all the bullets, all the bullet holes on the walls, and then all of a sudden they go into that moment, and there are like the bullets are like going back, being shot back, and this guy, he's being able to kind of like dodge all of this, and it's just a really weird concept for me. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know what Christopher Nolan is smoking, but whatever he is smoking, I feel like he should keep on doing that, because he is one of the most decorated directors of all time, and I just think that his movies speak for themselves. There are crazy topics that just do amazingly well. I really like them, and I hope that you guys like them too. If you don't like Christopher Nolan very much, that's up to everyone's opinion. I think that he has amazing movies. Personally, if I could recommend you any movies, Interstellar is amazing. Even if you don't understand space, I think that it is just an amazing movie. Inception makes you think a lot, but it's definitely worth the thrill. It's a really good movie, and it just really still holds up even right now. You have the Dark Knight trilogy, is arguably the best trilogy, for the best superhero trilogy of all time. I think that is just such an amazing trilogy, and I think that all of you should watch it. You have other movies like Dunkirk, which I can't get to in this episode because we've been recording for a really long time and it's kind of late outside. So I gotta get this out so that all of you guys can watch it. And hey, it's just, I think that all his movies are amazing. Go watch them. Even if you don't understand them, maybe you'll have a lot of fun with it, kind of like me with Tenet. But hey, that's just what I think. I hope you guys enjoy the movies, and if you decide not to watch them, then that's on you. But I do think that they're great movies, and I do think that they're worth mentioning. If you have enjoyed this video, then you should definitely hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment down below, like I said, what you thought Tenet was like trying to set up and like how it was being set up, because I couldn't understand it. So if any of you guys can help me dumb it down, I would love to hear that. Hit that little bell so you get notifications every time that I upload. And hey, thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you all in the next one.